So
Love it.
that has been wonderful. She actually, because she's just in my email list, and of course I sent emails out to my email list as well. And she reached out and she's like, "Is this program for me?" I'm like, "Well, it could be. Let's talk." And it was so cute because we were on the triage call, and before we were even done with the triage call, she was, just absolutely, I've got to do this. I've got to go convince my husband to do this. I was like, "Well, look, here's what we're going to do. We haven't even had, a call where we can sit down and answer all your questions. You haven't even seen a full offer of the program. So let me send all of that to you. You and your husband look over it, have him on the call with us, and we'll
Mm.
actually go through and answer everything." So our strategy call is coming up next week. And she's already at the I've got to convince my husband we're doing this
I
stage.
love it.
That was her exact words when she got off of the triage call. So I think that's a huge good sign. So I'm putting her at definitely like a 90% yes for sure. One of those that I think the proposal would be a yes when I ask the question, kind of a thing. Did a triage call today. She's really excited, so I'll be sending out more information about that. And just doing the things. And of course, the more I do them, the more questions I have. But that's a good thing. So
Yes.
I want to really get a little bit more granular. I'm ready to dig deeper. And one of the things God had me do so that I'd be prepared to dig deeper is I really spent some time this weekend creating my holy hemmings. What does that look like? What does
Mm.
my daily and weekly schedule look like so that I'm not stressed and rushing from one thing to the next, but I know what should be happening in each time block, setting up time for family and rest
Mm.
as just part of the cycle of my week. And so that has been a big win. And there's parts of me that feel like that's even bigger win than the clients. Um,
Yeah, because you're creating space for more clients and for
yes.
the things that you want.
And if I, like you said, if I didn't have that space, I couldn't bring on more because I'd start feeling, ah,
Yes. So if I'm hearing you correctly, like you, like, because we want to celebrate with you guys, like this is awesome. I think lots of love is being put in the chat. No,
yes.
but you started, just a couple weeks ago, you've signed two high ticket clients and you are, see, because this also makes me feel good because when I was crafting Born to Influence, I wouldn't say I hesitated, but there's a lot of bro scalers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Can I get a witness? And
Mm-hmm.
there's so much about like do this and do this and do this and do this that when I was embedding rest and I was embedding holy hemmings and setting boundaries and embedding, our vision, because without a vision, the people perish. When I was looking at those things from the beginning, when I was starting to think about team and the female founder replacement ladder, it seems early. However, I love what you're saying, like just knowing that you are setting a place which is called vacuum law of prosperity. When you're setting intentional spaces in your week, you are anticipating God to show up. Now, God can
That's
show up
right.
in like a strategy call space in your day. God can show up in a quiet time space in your day. My husband and I have like a little cuddle window in our day, and that sounds almost silly to put it in a schedule. But it's like then you don't miss out on like just having time to go back and forth or to have a little, snuggle, hold each other.
Mm-hmm.
Those are important to us.
Absolutely.
So
It's funny
what?
you even say that.
Go
I did
ahead.
the same thing.
Hmm.
I did the same thing
Right.
because
Which,
he's at home. So,
yes. And you can start to just have separate lives. And this is if we follow a model. So I know you've got questions, but just stay with me for a second, Carolyn.
mhm,
If we follow a model that doesn't embed the vision, doesn't embed in it the time for rest, doesn't embed in it that relationship with God being first, or being intentional when we see our children come into the room, you can see how you can go and make money and have, like you're saying, almost having the holy hemmings is a bigger win than having the cash flow. Is that if you have the cash flow and you don't have the life going the direction that you want,
mhm.
what would happen for you?
I would become more and more stressed and end up back where I was when God called me out of that place as an executive.
Exactly.
And that's where I don't want to go. And I know that's not what he wants for me, or he wouldn't have called me out of that place to begin with.
That's right. So how is your like the barometer? There was a barometer of the temperature of how you're doing. What would it look like now?
Um, like 1 to 10, it would be a 7, because I I get easily discouraged, and that's one of the things that God is working with me about personally, is how to not focus on the thing discouraging me, but to just rest. And like you say, that doesn't mean lack of work. That means peace and calmness coming from a place of reliance on Him. And so when I say that word, I think you and I are very much on the same page. That's why it resonated so much with me when you and I were talking originally. It's because what I mean is that be still and know that I am God. Like that's the verse that rest means for me.
That's right. And be still is still in the storm,
Yes, exactly.
right? We have to remember that there's that in brackets. Be still in the storm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And know that I am God. It wouldn't be, be still while you're in total calm and all your bills are paid and your children behave and listen and put away their toys on time, right? Like it doesn't say that. It's
No.
be still, but in this storm. Well, I appreciate you sharing all of that. I know everyone else is kind of putting their wins and their questions, and everyone who's listening, just keep putting your wins and your questions in because I want to keep going here with Carolyn because I feel like um, others are going to have something of a similar vein. So, a couple things. So, I know you have a practical, tactical question. I want to
Yeah.
address that in a second. I want to go in for just a second here, just with regards to learning to no longer allow ourselves to be discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
There becomes like a new training for yourself when you're entering into this space. You have to retrain your mind. You have to retrain your response system. And because what can happen, of course, and you're already feeling this, is that if you're doing call after call after call, and you're basing on how you feel based on how people respond to you, we're all going to be emotional yo-yos before the end of the
Exactly.
day, right?
Exactly.
What are some things that you are practically putting in, or you can ask me a question if you want some help around that?
So what I'm practically putting in is framing everything from a lens of it was either a success or I have an opportunity to learn what I did wrong, could have done differently, or it wasn't meant for me to begin with and I can just let it go.
Yes. And see, this is something that's a little bit different. Like when you haven't been used to, and this is all of you who are listening, if you haven't been doing, sorry about that, if you haven't been doing, 20, 30 calls a week, if you haven't been
Mm-hmm.
going through, if you haven't been going through sending 50 to 100 messages a day, when you're first starting, it's like getting acclimated to, you mean I need to do this every day? So that's the first shock to the whole system, right? A
Right?
little bit. And then in that, you grow a capacity of that's your norm,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if it's not our norm, you're going to be on freak out like more times than not, right? Over
Right.
the day. But to know that and almost to write a little note to yourself, right? Is that obedience is my responsibility.
Yes.
Outcome is his.
Yes.
Obedience is my responsibility. Outcome is his. That you're just obedient to show up and love well and ask the questions. And if they don't get you, if they're not coachable, if they're not likable, if they can't afford your services, if they're not a good fit, if they have a weird attitude, brush it off. I just came back from a week, amazing week with Michael Jr. and his wife, the comedian Michael Jr. and
Mm-hmm.
his wife, Ebony. And, Ebony was sharing, we were in the ocean together, and she was talking about energy and not in the woo woo kind of sense, but like just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
practically, right? Like energy has to be shifted somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? So after you get off your calls, so this may be different for everyone listening, but even for you, Carolyn, everybody else. But think about like after you have a call, is there something like I have a bit of a routine, like before I hop on a call and then after I hop on a call of things that I do. And anyone watching me would think I'm a little weird. I don't have it right now, but at one point in my office in my previous house, I had a little trampoline next to my desk.
Mm-hmm.
And this, because energy needs to be moved. So if you have a call with someone, especially females, women out there, can I get the real women actually being like, we are nurturers. We like respond. We like take in, especially those of you who are feelers and have great
Mm-hmm.
empathy. I know Debbie walks in that too. And you're already like prophetically getting glimpses of people. You're already seeing things. You're understanding them. And if they may not be coachable, don't want to hear, you've got all this stuff that's going through. Everybody understand?
Yep.
So find a way to transfer that energy.
Jumping up and down on the trampoline. Okay, I
Right.
see. I'm seeing. Okay.
And that may not work for you. Now, one other thing that I would do, it took 8 minutes, my previous house. I live in a different neighborhood now, but so I don't know the timing, but it took 8 minutes to do one lap around the block.
Okay.
And so I could literally finish a call and know in 10 minutes, I could run to the restroom, grab some water, run around the block with my dog and get back onto the call. And all of whatever weird energy was from the previous, even if it's good energy, I'm just able to shift and go into the next. Is this
That's
making
good
sense?
stuff. That's so good because I did notice yesterday after a call, I got up and I walked down to the mailbox and back because down to the mailbox and back is not short. I live out in the country. And even though that was only like 2 minutes, it was just like it
Enough.
kind of cleared. So
Yes. And that's
that's
it.
amazing that you said that.
And so I call it a clear.
Mm-hmm.
Just call it a clear. Like, and again, I don't want anybody to think I'm new age. I'm not. I'm just being like, you know what, guys? And I'll be honest with you, there are some really good things that non-Christians do that sometimes Christians look at and go, oh my goodness, that's from the devil. Like stretching isn't from the devil. It's like, it's okay to be stretching, right? Like, so we have to
Mm-hmm.
be careful here. So I'm not being woo-woo, but to a bit of
Right.
a clearing, take a deep breath in,
Mm-hmm.
even have sometimes like I'll have for a season one worship song that's my transition song.
Mm.
And I know it's my transition. So don't pick one that you don't want as your transition because it's a Pavlovian thing that you will
Right.
start to condition yourself to go, oh, I'm transitioning now. Another thing I do just before I start a call, because there's a different energy for triage and strategy calls. Often on my triage calls, depending on the energy of the person, because we don't want to be overly excited because then you look like one of those weirdo salespeople, right? Right. But at the same time, you want to be your best energy. So for me, I just do this. I just like go, yeah, yeah, yeah. I just do three of those ahead of time. And then I'm just anticipating good things, right? So no
Okay.
matter what you just had, right? Everyone here, can I get the real people here? All of us have normal lives. You
Yep.
can be in the best mood ever, and like just before I had a call just before this, and some sales guy for like Bell is like ringing my doors like nonstop, like just wouldn't stop. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna let this bother me. But there's things that we just are not in our control. So
Right.
you can control it. So everyone write down who's listening, Carolyn, you too. What routine can you put in before a call and to get you in that higher state? Now, some of you, it might be as simple as, I have a stand sit desk. So I do stand then sit, and I do stand then sit. Choose, like maybe your triage calls, you'll stand. Maybe you'll have a better energy. Maybe for some of you, because
Mm-hmm.
I like to write on my iPad, I can barely stand and multitask. It's just not me. So if you're writing on things, you may need to sit down, but think about what's it going to look like? What is a song you can play? What is a declaration you can say? What is a routine you can do? What is something that you can get yourself into? And it doesn't even have to take very long. You can put on one praise and worship song, or a rock song, whatever you listen to, and dance up and down. And then what would your transition to your next thing look like for you? Everybody write those
Um,
down.
yeah. And for me, I love the transition of just kind of physically shaking and then walking to the mailbox and back and doing something mentally, such as, like you said, but singing a song to myself as I'm walking back and forth, just because it works better to clear my thoughts. If I have music in my ear, I'll just override it with my own thoughts.
Yes. You know, and two, like one thing I loved Michael Jr. does when he works with people is he calls it being on your nines. So he
Okay.
takes a look at love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, meekness, and self-control. And he does like where are you on your nines? You know, like which part did love
Mm-hmm.
leave? Did joy leave? Did peace leave? Like, and so pay attention to where that stress is because you will have people that you have a call with that are like, I don't watch horror movies, but they're like the Nightmare on Elm Street. You're like, where did this person
Mm-hmm.
come from? You're like, oh my, like they're everything, right? Their energy, the way they show up, they're blaming other people, they're don't take ownership for, and you don't want to take that over. And if you are not
Right.
experienced in this, or if you're a highly sensitive person, like here's the thing, Carolyn, you're super intellectual, but you're also super sensitive, like in a healthy way
Mm-hmm.
because God's given you such a gifting left brain and such a giving right brain, like gifting. And so well, you want to guard your heart, but not guard your heart so that you are not in a flow. Is this making
Right.
sense?
It totally is.
Right. And especially people who don't have access to you yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like people who have access and have earned the right and they're your clients, like there's a different feel to that whole
Right.
process, right? Somebody who hasn't, you don't want to be like guarded as in cold, but you want to be at a bit of a, bit of a distance. Similar if you were dating somebody, you're not going to give them the same access as you would with your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So just having a little bit of that. What are some takeaways from that? And then we will clear and we'll go to the next question.
I love the where are you on your nines, like really addressing where the emotion came up, acknowledging it, and then clearing it, doing a quick walk because the movement will physically clear that, and then do a reset because I think that's where I get stuck is that reset. So I love
That's
this.
good. And I just want a quick add before we go to the next question because I know the next question is going to help everybody and everyone's going to get time today to be able to ask their questions, all right? Is when you're looking at being on your nine, so love, joy, peace, patience. So when something comes up, like say it's like joy, then add something that's going to give joy. So Carolyn, actually, when you're talking about going to your mailbox, I was like picturing you skipping. And that just brought me a ton of joy because I was like, you know what? Because like kids, when they skip, you don't think they're like angry or bitter or
Right,
resentful, right? Like
right.
they're in a flow of joy. So just like starting to like for me, and I have just little things like the song I Speak Jesus. Do you know that song?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I was listening to it full blast today, this morning, coming back from the gym. But like just like your name is power. Just like take in. And even if it's just like a couple lines that you completely like just soak in, it's amazing how you can just like sing two lines and the weird energy can be gone.
Mm-hmm.
But the same goes with positive, guys. When you close your sale, Carolyn, when you got off that call and that person's like signing up and paying cash and you're on the whole, you also want to do a bit of a clear as you transition because your next one may be chatting with somebody who's had a really rough week,
Yeah, that's a
right?
very good point.
Or you're
Mm-hmm.
going to talk to your husband and you're talking 8,000 words a second and he has
Mm-hmm.
no idea what you're talking about, right? So the transition, because, I love how, Rudyard Kipling, in his poem, like, we just want to be thinking is that both everything being amazing and everything being terrible are both imposters.
Yep.
It's that we're rooted and grounded in Him, and our joy
Mm-hmm.
comes from Him, our peace comes from Him, our ability to love comes from Him. So, again, just because there can be, and people will say in this business, I had a call with a lady, amazing. She has amazing anointed ministry. But it's always up and down because you're riding it instead of going,
Yeah. Instead
no,
of drive. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, you're the driver. And check on that. Like ask yourself, am I driving this? Am I sitting in the passenger seat? Am I in the back seat? Am I in the boot or the trunk, depending on where you are in the world? Right? Okay, we're going to do a clear because I know your next question is going to be more task and more content and that. Okay, everybody
It
take a
is.
deep breath in and let's let that part
Mm.
go of all the goodness we just learned about transition. Just let it go. All right. And now you have a question regarding when you're connecting with people and you want to be able to move those connections. So I'm not going to use the language. I want you to use your own language. Share
Okay.
with me what's going on with that. And everyone else take notes because all these things are applicable to you.
So, in trying to build those connections, I really want some clarity around is the Pepper is sending friend requests and initial chats,
Yes.
and it puts in the box max of 30. So, is that why you do like 25 in the morning and 25 at night?
Yes. It
Okay.
used to be max 50. But I have tested everything myself. So if you look at the $1 Million Daily as per the new Facebook restrictions, the teaching that I did a few months ago, if you look that up and
Hmm.
you follow very clearly that those metrics, you can actually send quite a number. And I do have another system once you're getting beyond. I use a totally
Okay.
different, I shouldn't say a different one. I use Pepper always still, but I have another automation that I add. I wouldn't add it quite yet.
Okay.
Okay. I have worked out so you don't want to be sending more than 30 messages in 24 hours to people that aren't friends yet.
Okay.
Okay. No more than 30. If you have somebody you're friends with, you can send them, but no pictures, no outside links to other things. This is why I created the system about having the link that takes you to the Facebook group.
Right.
Because you can have a post in there, you can have a picture in there, you can have anything you want in there, and you're not going to get flagged like you would if you have a link to your website, even to Calendly. So this is why I'll say, remind me again, what time zone are you in? And do that negotiations because it's not a link. Once you have links that take you outside of Facebook, Facebook AI is just looking for is it a outside of Facebook. They're not like going like, is it Calendly? It's anything that's going to take you outside of Facebook. So you want
Gotcha.
to be careful about that. Um, so it's just follow, first of all, follow those numbers.
Okay.
Okay. With regards to that, I want you guys to know that it really is like 1 out of 25 that you'll have a triage call, but you do need
Right.
to be doing right. You still need to keep it up. And Carolyn, and a lot of you actually on this call today, you're really good with your voice. You're really good at speaking to other people. You articulate super well. Use the voice messaging because sometimes people won't respond. So today I did, I don't know how many I did, but my team sent a bunch. Is that having a personal message from someone that's, having it from you and just saying, hey, I've sent you a couple messages and I apologize. I realize I haven't really stepped in. I thought I would just introduce myself and you can hear my voice and I'm not a robot. Just like either make light of it or make it funny or, again, you want to honor your brand, right? If you're not,
Gotcha.
that's not your personality and everybody else is listening. So honor your brand, Carolyn, send them a quick message and say, just what you would do to bridge and bring a relationship. People warm up fast. So sometimes it's just that. Sometimes people are doorknobs. Okay.
Yeah.
There are going to be knuckleheads and doorknobs in
Yeah.
there. And so just know you don't know when. Now, my team gets irritated a little bit with me because I err on the side of grace.
Hmm.
Like I really will be like, I know that person's my person. And so I will
Hmm.
continue to send messages and funny gifts and things. And then, I do have people message back and say, I love everything you're doing. I really want to chat with you because my person, and again, you want to be, and this is what I was going to share with you, Carolyn, is everyone here get a little more granular about your kind of person.
Hmm.
really pay attention about the who they are, what they like, what they listen to, what they like to eat, like just like detail, 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 because that can also help you in the content you write, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I know my people are above average in intelligence. I know a lot of my people have written books or have done amazing things in ministry or whatever you want to call that. So I write longer content because the people who say, I really love this, has really resonated are probably my people versus things that are AI has done that's at like a grade 5 level.
Mm-hmm.
Some people that's going to be your people. So pay attention to that because it could be a little bit of that. And Carolyn, because you're working with people who want to, that are right, that are processors, that are introverted, don't get discouraged if people don't respond.
Okay. That's good to hear.
I mean, I would say I can think of 5 clients who've paid me over 50 to 75,000 who like they didn't like click likes and some of them weren't even on social, like some of them weren't even, they were on LinkedIn and then they only did email or they came onto Facebook, they followed my system, they did a group and things, but they originally weren't,
Yeah.
especially if you're working with, like again, you're working with people who are authors. I would say they are more reflective. They're maybe more introverted, not necessarily. They're internal processors. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
think about what they want to say. They're probably not likely to just start spewing a whole bunch of random thoughts out there on social media.
Right, exactly. And I think
So,
that's exactly it, is because being similar to them in those things, I've really struggled with crafting those um, initial direct messages to them because I'm thinking from the lens of if I got this, what would I be thinking? And I keep thinking, okay, no, that's too much. No, I wouldn't want to be answering that. I wouldn't, and I keep going and keep going. And so today I think I hit on something that I feel a lot more comfortable with. And that was, I'm asking right now, hey, just curious, was it your own personal story of transformation that led you to becoming a coach? Because then that is can be a shorter, quick, they can say yeah or no, or they can actually go into it, but they don't have to like share all the emotions and all the things. They can do a quick
exactly.
answer, and then I can take it from there, or it can become clear that they can respond, wait, but I'm not, or there's just a lot of ways. So that's one I hit on today, literally, in praying through that this morning and really struggling with that the last 24 hours. I realized, it was that messaging that I just wasn't like, it wasn't me. I couldn't find one that felt genuine to me. And so today I feel like God finally said, here's one.
I love
What
it.
are your thoughts about that
No,
one?
I love that. And everyone too listening, you just want a response.
Mm-hmm.
Stop waiting for them to marry you after the first welcome message. Like
Exactly.
you just want them to go, "Hi, I'm breathing."
Right.
Right? Like that's really what you
It's
want,
all
but like you just want some sign because another part is like once they're responding to just from like a tech side of things, like Facebook sees that there's an interaction. It's not like a mono chat of you because then they get suspicious if you're sending lots and lots of links and things and stuff like there's not the other person doesn't want it.
yeah.
So this way somebody's saying yes or no or thanks. Also, it's something that's scalable
Mm-hmm.
because once you have a team, right, you don't want tons of stuff. Plus, guys, I want everyone to understand this, and I know you all serve different niches, but if somebody responds too fast telling you about their whole life, they may not be a safe person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they will once you get like, here's the thing, all of you guys here eventually sent me voice messages and chatted with me, right?
Right.
But right in the first message, normally people take a little bit of time, like a couple
Mm-hmm.
messages, right? Like and then they go, "Oh," and then they send the love letter. But
Right.
anyone who's too fast that way, sometimes they're not the best clients anyways.
Hmm.
So be okay with that, right? Anyone who enters your life quickly will leave your life quickly.
That's good. I gotta write that down. I gotta write that down.
Okay, so the slow burn is what I call it. I'm just all about slow burn because then I know, right? Because people can see the consistency that I show up all the time. People know that I answer all the time. People see that I'm, diligent and disciplined, and I want clients that are the same. I don't want people who are like, oh, I'm impatient, and I want to be free from this and I want to have this and I need this and they're demanding and they're difficult. So you want to be watching the cadence as also a
Hmm.
sign about how they're going to show up as a client.
Right.
Okay. And if they're going to be the people that are going to message you at 11:30 at night on a Saturday.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. You don't want those. Well, maybe you do, but I don't think you do.
And
Does that help? Does that
mm-mm.
help, Carolyn? Is there anything else
Or they
around
can message me
connection?
because I have my privacy settings on. They can message me, but know that I'm going to be responding Monday morning at 8 o'clock.
Yes. Again, I am in no way against, like, I message people at all times because, again, my team's sending messages through different
Right.
things all the
Exactly.
time. I mean, like, they think you should be responding at that time,
Exactly. Exactly.
right? So you want to you want to pay attention to the details of things when you're looking at that. So
Right.
anything else that you're feeling like you need help with, because I know it's going to help others. I just want to share here quick. I'm working on creating a new training around content and attraction, based on the things about yourself that are unique to you, that would be in addition to
Mm-hmm.
the meat and potatoes content calendar. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Because there are so many things, that all the nuances and just the different things about you, we want to capture that and write about it, because those are actually the things that draw people to you.
Hmm.
Of course, that you want them to know what you do, but we all have seen all the marketing and the content where people just go, here's the 3 steps for this and blah blah blah, and you see it so much that you're at a place where you're just totally, no longer even recognizing it. You just go, whatever. And you don't want to get into that category with your people. So I am formulating some of that, just so you know. Is there anything about either content before we move on, or anything in there, Carolyn, that you think?
Yeah. One more very practical question,
Yep.
which is Pepper sends a friend invite. Pepper sends an original message. um, when does the invite to the Facebook group take place? Because sometimes I just tell them, hey, I've got this group. Would you like me to send you a link? And they say, yes. And I send them the link to the Facebook group. Other times I'm sending them a direct invite to the group. So which,
Yeah, such a good question. So I don't recommend sending a here's my group thing.
okay.
That's why in the I help statement, to say I help, Kingdom Entrepreneurs write their book, all these
Mm-hmm.
things. Then you're saying, would you like a copy of my teaching on, how to
Yes.
write your book that helps to prosper your business, or whatever it's called, right? Like, that's where the video is housed in your Facebook group.
Okay. Okay.
And then they say yes. And you say, what's the best email to send it to? And you don't send it via email.
Gotcha.
You send it to the group, because now you have their email address, which is traffic you
Yep.
own. And then you send them to the Facebook group. Now you have two ways of connecting with them: traffic you rent, which is your Facebook group, right? Traffic you
Mm-hmm.
own is your email list. So you go through that process. Is that clear?
So do you send direct invites to the Facebook group? Like once they say yes to being your friend, do you automatically send an invite to the Facebook group as well? Like when does that happen?
Yeah, really good question. So you're doing all these things all at the same time.
Okay.
So all of them are synchronous. So you're having the 50 people a day, you're having 25 welcome messages. All the people have responded to you the day before of all your chats, you're responding to throughout the day. You're
Yep.
also going into your group and hitting the invite button
Yep.
and manually adding 20 people, and then doing that again later in the day. So sometimes people will already be in your Facebook group when you've sent the link to them to join, or not to join, sent the link for them
For the
to watch your
training.
video for the training. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because you're
This,
doing all, they just keep it all going every single day, and somehow they'll end up in your group, they'll end up on your email list, they'll
yeah,
be in the chats. We do all of these things all at the same time, because if you're not, something will get missed, or if you're only looking for at one channel,
yep.
right? We want the email list in case for some reason Facebook's not in commission one day. It's okay. You've been collecting everybody's email every single day and adding them to some kind of CRM.
Okay.
And then you can email them if there was any of that, right? But your primary way will be through Facebook. And then as you scale past 15, 20K months, you can add on TikTok or LinkedIn or
Yeah.
Instagram. Most of you are posting to Instagram anyways, right? Um, I'm starting to really like, I'm going to be doing longer teaching and training on YouTube because that's really for me. I really want to educate Kingdom people that way. That's important to me. But you'll figure out like what is the thing that works best and
For me
reaches your people
personally.
the
Yeah.
best. Yeah, a combination of personally as well as like the vibe of your person,
Yeah.
right?
Okay,
You
that's
want to
great
do
because
that.
and that's the thing. I have been doing all of those things. So this is good confirmation because I wait until I've gotten about 10 or 15 people who've said yes to being a friend from Pepper. And then I just do the invites to the Facebook group. I now have that training housed in the Facebook group on overcoming those myths. So that's what I've been asking them if that would be something they'd like. I've been sending them that link. So they have to get in the Facebook group.
Exactly.
I'm
And
doing the
then
things. So like you
you're
said,
doing it
just
perfectly.
keep doing the things.
But you
I
got
love
to
it.
keep the
Okay.
numbers, because here's the thing, when
Yeah.
we don't do the numbers, we start to hang our hat on a few people that we've sent a few messages to,
Yeah.
and we're putting too much responsibility on them,
Right. Right.
right? Like
And I am
outcome is
not doing the
God's.
numbers as high. And that was why I had the question initially, because I've only been sending about 20 in the morning because of Pepper doing that. You can only send 30. And so like I'll get Pepper running and I'll go do my quiet time or drink my coffee, those kind of things while it runs. Um, and so it's not been a full 50. And so that's where I need to transition. That's the gap in the numbers
Yes.
right
Well,
there.
you can add in. So you can really be doing more than that. It's just that Pepper wants to keep you safe. I want to keep you safe,
Gotcha.
but I still like Pepper runs, and I have other automations and things that run, but Pepper runs at nighttime. And then
Okay.
throughout the day, say, because sometimes Facebook will suggest somebody, right? So if they
Yeah.
say, suggest this person, and I'm like, yeah, I really think like I look at them right away and I'm like, they're cheerful. They look like kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll add them, right?
Okay.
And so here's the thing though. Anyone you add manually, anyone you add manually, you have to make sure you go into your friends, go into your newest friends first, and then manually send them a welcome message.
Right. Because Pepper won't do it.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
just be sure to have, if that's part of your practice, that some portion of your day when Pepper's not running, that you go back in and just say, okay, I think we added, and they may not have accepted quickly, but then if you're doing that daily, you could have people from 4 months ago or 2 weeks ago or yesterday that accept your friend request.
Right.
And you don't want to miss out on that. So then send them a message manually, a welcome message. Does that help?
And then last question.
Yeah.
Do you wait until they've accepted the friend request before you send them a message? Because Pepper will do both, whether they'll send the message whether they've accepted a friend request or not.
So Christian's not on the call and he's the expert in this. Um, Me personally, I don't send any messages, and I know there's a setting in
There,
Pepper,
that's yeah,
right,
exactly.
where it's if they're friends only. So here's the thing, because you can only send 30 to non-friends, I just don't risk it at all.
Okay.
So I've
Okay.
gone over before, and when that happened, you get the cannot send in red message, and then
Okay.
you're not able to send any messages. Okay. So I recommend, because you'll have enough people. If you're just adding people that you see and looking in groups and Pepper's running, you'll have enough people.
Okay. Okay. I now see my gaps and I'm good. I'm
All
ready to
right.
roll. I'm ready to cheer on my cohort of people.
Come on. You got this. I'm so proud of you. Amazing job. Amazing job. Way to go. And if you want to post some of your reflections on what you've learned in the BTI group, that always helps people too, Carolyn. So we appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank
Absolutely
you,
be happy
lovely.
to do that.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
You bet. Gary and Rosa, come on in. First, share a little bit about some wins that you've had. Where's Rosa? Come on in. Hello. Good to see you guys.
Great to see you. Thanks
Yeah,
for this new time for us.
absolutely. So, what has been some
Sorry, I was
amazing
on mute.
wins? Oh, you're fine. Share some wins.
Rosa, you want to share first?
Yes, I'll share about the chats. Because so we have been getting better and better at improving our chats, and we're
Good.
getting more and more responses and feeling like, oh, we're in business. These people are talking about, wanting to continue the conversation. So we've had one triage call, and it looks like we'll have two more this week. So we're
Amazing.
getting better and better at deciphering where they go after that and how to categorize them and so on. And we've learned that to move away from groups that are not close to our tribe quicker now than before. So we're going to more kingdom business builders rather
Good.
than, say, Christian businesses or Christian entrepreneurs. So
Good.
yeah, we're learning more about the keywords. And so that's exciting because we have now, I think, he said more than 1,100 leads yesterday. And we had about 35 responses. So today I got to go in there and start playing.
That's so good. These are great wins. I'm excited for you. Gary, do you have a win to add before you ask me some questions?
Yeah, it's good. So I did a guest podcast the other week. I was the guest on the podcast for BAM Business as Mission. So that just went out this week or last week, and hoping to, and we're also promoting our November 15th executive masterclass from that. So I'm very focused on the 10 outbound prospecting calls per day. I did 10 last week when I was on Business for Bible League. I'm halfway through 10 today. I've also connected with some other associates and asking them to bring some people. So the referral thing, whatever you call that. And the
That's
goal
awesome.
is 12 to 15 of the right Christian business owners, who have a team.
Yes.
And what else is a win? I'm feeling more, in this new partnership. And yeah, and so we have a design for the masterclass, which I'll bounce off one part of it off you here shortly. And what else? I think that's largely it.
That's so good. I'm excited for you. You really focused, guys. Amazing. This is awesome. And it's the 15th of November, right? Your
Mhm.
masterclass. Okay, that's awesome.
12 to 1:30. Yep. So Chris
Yeah.
did a great job of setting up the landing page, and we have a promo email, which and Chris is also doing the posting posts on Facebook and LinkedIn 3 times a week. Yeah, I think that's
Awesome.
and just looking at some different strategies,
That's so
as well as
good.
inviting. Rose and I are both inviting people personally. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, between Pepper and context and like it's the whole piece, right? Together. What are you feeling like you need the most help with?
Rosa, do you want to go first?
No, you know what? You go first because what for me, it's really still the chat and how we're improving. And I think we're on a roll now, how we're improving our chats. So
Okay.
I want you to share what's
Okay.
your biggest
So
concern.
for me, I would say is what I'm saying, and I can share with you briefly what I'm saying when I'm calling Christian businesses like cold call. Most of these are all cold
Yeah.
calls, like off of CCBF, which is association, and and inviting them to join us. And so maybe I can share that just very briefly. And then the design of our masterclass would be our call to action would be the other key thing. And I think we're pretty solid on. I can just very briefly share the design, overall design, very briefly. So, let's say I'm calling you. Hi, hey, Heaven. This is Gary from On Purpose People Perform, and I'd slow down, but I'm guessing that you, as a Christian business owner, are working hard in this challenging business environment to grow your business. And if I'm talking to them, then I would. Usually it's going to be a voice message, we know, but asking I'm curious, what would be for you, what would be one of your greatest business challenges? Is it lacking effective strategy, or leadership, or lagging sales, or low engagement? And then I would link into that in terms of, well, if you'd like to make progress on this area for 2025 to grow, then we'd love to invite you to our complimentary executive preview designed specifically for Christian business leaders like yourself seeking to grow and transform your business in 2025. And you'll be gaining key insights from another CEO, Brian Elliott, etc. And he's gone through all the challenges. He's used these strategies to go from, built a company from good to great on key strategies and so on and so forth, which we'll be sharing. So you'll be gaining these key insights and from our great team as well, and inviting them to basically to register, send the link, and so on. But I'm sure you can give me some good feedback on.
Okay, no, that's
make
good.
this more effective.
So the cold list, as opposed to just connecting with people, walk me through that. Like, instead of just connecting with people that you've already made friends with, or you have made friends with, are these people you're calling in Messenger that Pepper has selected? Where are the names coming from?
Yeah, so this is just me prospecting in the world, not anything online. CCBF is my primary source. I'm going through their list and going to their website and some amazing companies there, Christian companies,
Okay.
and then calling them up. And so these are the calls I'm making primarily are cold calls, or I know them and it's quite easy, and they're going to probably join us or bring some people, which is what I'm asking the people I know to bring some people.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're first opening up, and like, how are people responding? Like, for me, if I start off right away making the assumption that things are challenging without having my prospects share that, how is that working when you're connecting with people? Are they responding to that right away? Is it opening?
Honestly, I haven't really had any cold contacts for a conversation. It's all voice messages so far. So I'm not saying that part in the voice message. I'm just saying, hey, we are inviting, Christian business owners who want to grow to this.
So what I would do is even simplify it. I wouldn't say as much. So if it's just a message, I would say, hey, it's Gary from such and such. When you have a second, I just wanted to ask you a quick question, if you don't mind, just get back to me. Like, just keep it pretty vague. Or you could say, with regards to something. But the problem with, again, content without context brings confusion. So if we don't
for me,
have
the example you gave, that wouldn't work for me. I'm not going to call someone back if I have no idea there's no context for me. So that wouldn't work for me.
Yes. What I'm saying is again, you want to have something that you say in there that's enough, but don't say too much.
Okay.
Because if it's a whole infomercial about a whole bunch of things,
right,
it's kind of a big ask, right?
And they're going to just push delete. Yeah.
You could just say, and as much as possible, like, you have sort of warm leads that Rose is already connecting with. Like, I would recommend start with people that have some warmth. Start with those you have, like, in your warm market, some referrals that you have from people. Like, start with those first, because the success rate isn't going to be as high, right? To reach out to them and start with that. I still recommend going through like Rosa, going through the chats, connecting with people and starting the call, because your call to action for your masterclass is for them to get on a 10-minute call, right? Or are you doing something else on there?
I do want to update you on that. We have,
okay.
We've made a change for that.
Okay.
But I'll come to that in a moment. So connecting to warm people is pretty easy. but yeah, doing the cold call, I understand what you're saying. Make it shorter, sort of it gives them some curiosity in context, in terms of the value. And the value really is to develop your breakthrough strategy for 2025. So that's really the essence of it.
And that is what the event will be, is going to be
Yep.
around that. Okay. And that's what you'll be providing on there, like a blueprint for 2025?
Basically, I mean,
You're
I
going to be
can,
giving the what, not the how.
yeah. And so let me share that.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and we're all playing a role. This is with Rosa's being a great MC host, and then I'll be introduced, and I'll kind of set the purpose, open in prayer, purpose of the master class, and then I'll go into give them a bit of context, engage them with some questions about where they're at, what their vision is, where they want to be in a year, what their top 5 or top 3 business challenges. And then do a little piece on the power of purpose with a great video, God's purpose for your life. It's inspiring. So trying to give them inspiration and context in that session. And then I introduce Glenn, who is our strategy business partner, for him to kind of say, well, these are some quotation marks solutions to some of the things you've just identified. And then he talks a bit about the process. Then he introduces Brian, who's the success story client, who literally is processed a double revenue, and he'll be covering some of the key elements of the process. And the last thing he'll say is that, and I started this with doing step 1, which is like the first step of the process, which is the full assessment process. And so that's what we've decided we want to. So rather than doing a 10-minute call later after they've cooled off, we believe they're going to be at the peak of their interest because they've just heard an incredibly powerful success story, and they hear the strategy, and to ask them to make a $5,000 investment, then or by the end of the night, to do the first step of the process, just like Brian did. So that's our current thinking, and have a landing page with all the value described in that first step.
Okay. And so you're partnering with this other person though, right? So do the business together sort of thing. That's what I'm hearing?
At least for the first couple. Yep. Until I at least learn. Okay, Rosa, do you want to before you go?
I'm sorry, I do have a call at 4, so I do have to leave. Sorry. Thanks, Gary.
That's okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Rosa.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Keep
Rosa.
up the good work.
Thanks.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So and again, your business and your business industry, if that's going to work for you to be able to do the call to action right there. I mean, can be successful. It just depends how warm people are, right? Like, conversions happen in conversations. And so sometimes, when you have all the great testimonies and all these beautiful things, and I know you can have people close in that environment. And again, are you triaging them at all before they come to that event?
That's a great question. No, that's not the current plan. But I do have a nice assessment that really they answer, a whole bunch of great questions about center of God's will, and are you on purpose, and so on and so forth, and your business scale 1 to 5. I mean, that could be used if they complete it. But offering, on the call, and if we say, well, if you still have some questions on the fence, then let's book a 10-minute call. So I would use that as that option, I think.
Right. My concern is if you have a pool of people who haven't been triaged, and there aren't your signature clients, I would figure out what are the questions that I need to know for sure, like their team size, their business size, their revenue, their goals, right? Like those things. And beforehand, make sure Rosa's before the event. Because another thing I'll tell you is that that's why I call it the masterclass that doesn't matter.
Yes.
Is that the people who have money will not show and have no time are not going to show up. Often people show up for masterclasses that have time and no money. And so you're not really talking to the people who are going to be your clients. Is everybody with me here? Want to make sure, because this is very important that I've seen over time. Conversions happen in conversations. And you also want to have high retention. We don't just want a client acquisition, we want client retention. And so if we don't ask the right questions in advance to triage people to see, are they the right clients? We can have them in an environment that's exciting and there's testimonies and there's Ginsu knives and everything that they could possibly want. But they may not be the right person and they could commit to it, and then you're having to refund money later. Not saying that
You
that's
know,
your
honestly,
policy.
at this point, and this this is not the answer that I'm sure you want to hear, but at this stage, I just want to get some experience. And you know, if
I
and
know
so
you
that
just want to get experience, but I believe in you. We talked on my birthday on May 29th, and I see so much goodness in you, Gary. And I know everyone on the call and everyone listening and everybody in BTI, there is just so much goodness in you and so much that you can do to help. And Rosa and Chris are an amazing team alongside you. Anyone who registers to have a practice of sending them a message in chat. Hey, or hi, whatever your language is. Good afternoon. I noticed that you've registered for our event, our upcoming event. We're so excited that you are taking part in this. With your permission, may I ask you a few questions so that I know a little bit more about you beforehand?
so is this what you just said? Is that in a phone call or is that in a chat
No,
or
it's your
voice message?
process. It's your process. It can be in chat, phone call. Some of your people will want
Right.
email. Some of your people you'll be know through LinkedIn. Some people you know through Messenger. I recommend the way that they connected with you is the way I would connect with them.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, we're going to get their email and their phone number when they register. Um, that's it. We didn't put any qualifying questions in, as I often do, because I didn't want to turn people away at this point.
Right. But you want to be careful because you don't want to get all excited and have these people and then go, wait a second. We have a business owner who doesn't have any employees. We have a business owner who has 75 employees. And all of a sudden you don't have your right people and you have a
The
new
right clients.
problem. I want you to increase your level of anticipation to not be, I want to get experience too. I am already experienced. And I don't need to go through any more learning curves on this. I can think it through beforehand. And trust me when I say that it's the people who cannot come to your event that will be your clients. This is why do you think I reverse engineered everything so that you guys are all connecting with people in chat? You're like, why am I connecting with people in chat? Because if you do a Facebook ad, what do you have to eventually do?
Have a conversation.
Connect with them in chat.
Yeah.
If you have a lead come in from any source anywhere, what do you have to eventually do?
Well, some kind of connection.
So I just reverse engineer it and I start the chat. I'm already in conversation with you. So even if the timing isn't right, you're going to eventually binge my content. You're going to eventually see me in other groups. And at the right time, I've already started the conversation. I walked up in the room and said, hey, do you want some coffee? Instead of waiting for you to, respond to one of my things. Both are good. But I want you to start to think proactively, Gary, of when I'm looking at the companies, start a chart. Do a spreadsheet of like, this is the company, do some research. This is the size, this is employees, this is the CEO's name. And you're amazing at building connections. Right? I would call, and even like something you think that it's really going to help them. Like, hey, I would love to hop on a quick call. You just go right for the triage. Hey, I'd love to hop on a quick call to see if or how I could best help you. I'm holding this event and I want to make sure that we have the best content for somebody like you. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, sounds good.
Right. So then those are the triage questions, but you can also throw in another one in there. Like, hey, we are considering talking about X, Y, and Z. Is that something that's really important to you right now? And you're also learning more about your own client. Right? You're dialing in to go, what are the needs of my client? What are they really needing? You have a lot of experience in this, but I want you to, everyone here, to be careful, because sometimes we look for silver bullets. Okay. Some silver bullets are Facebook ads. Some silver bullets are a masterclass. So, like, these are silver bullets. We think we can bypass the stress and the weirdness of going through the rejection possibilities in chat. Go straight for chat, hold the events, but the event doesn't matter, because you eventually want to have those conversations with those people. And truthfully, Gary, you really want to make sure that they're a good fit.
Yeah, I do. And
right?
that's before I'm calling them, I'm doing some pre-qualifying, so to speak, on the website anyways.
Right. Dial
That's
back
very
what I
time
just
consuming.
said in the video and write out what I just said, and have Rosa look at that too, because as much as you can start to do a chart and triage and chat, you're already starting to look at, are these a good fit? Are they a good fit beforehand? And part of the process that I find is super successful, because I don't even worry about if I have 1 million people or nobody. It doesn't make a difference to me, is in the process to say, I notice you've registered for my class. So this is like a week ahead of time. I know you've registered. I notice you've registered. Curious, and then start your chat process. Curious, is XYZ still a really big pain point for you? And go through that, and then book the whole purpose, everyone listening, the whole purpose of your masterclass or your event or your summit, your whole purpose is to have a 10-minute call with that person. I've reverse engineered the system because I call it the introvert selling system. Because personally, I wouldn't want to be cold calling 500 people a day when I know that 50 people through Pepper over time will bring you, 20, 30, 50, 100,000 a month without having to, right? So, Gary, we're excited to be able to follow you on this journey. We're excited to be able to see, and I'm excited about you doing that call to action for the close at the end. Now, who's leading in the whole process? Because if you're doing the call to action at the end,
yeah, it's me who's really facilitating the experience.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I'm doing the first part where they engage with some questions, and then Glenn will share what the actual first step is, and we'll have a landing page and we'll have a PowerPoint with describing the value stack, and then I'll be asking them to make a decision today, or to do a 10-minute call and answer their questions. So choose one today, kind of thing, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I find, just for me, just over the years, people have watched so many webinars. They've been to so many things. That sometimes they can tune some things out. Like, I'm not discouraging you to, like, prepare something that's excellent. But my recommendation over the years is to stay relational. This is why I discourage presentations in business in general. Right. And I know a lot of companies, they still want them. The problem is later on when you're working with a company, if you haven't asked the questions, you have a difference in expectation, which is offense. Things that if they're not really clear, like if you haven't asked all those questions, and then they may not feel like they're getting their needs met.
Well, the first part of what they buy is going through that whole discovery process. So I'm not sure if that's
Right.
answers what you're saying.
Right, the assessment. And so even if they decide that they don't want to go through the whole process, right, they're committing to that initial stage, if I'm hearing you right.
$5,000. That's right.
And there's no refund on that, right? Like, you've got that really
Correct.
clear that you're doing an assessment of their business, and this is what it's going to look like. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So just remember, like, I love that. I love the call to action. I think it's important. I've seen people do it brilliantly in on live, right? I just personally have found that you still need to have a 10-minute conversation
Yep.
with people. Okay, so train your team that anyone who registers to go through a triage process in chat, because then you'll have a chart. So I have my team do up, like, okay, I'm talking to all these people. They will already know, like, where are they in a 1 to 9 in warm, right? What content have they've been watching? What is their likeliness to purchase? Where are they at on that process? So starting to assess and have that conversation, because if you're in the call and you do a call to action at the end and somebody's like, yes, and your team will look on that spreadsheet and they'll be like, okay, yeah, we know that Scott Smith, oh yeah, he was really up there and we've had conversations. He is in our target. He is our signature client. He has the finances. He looks coachable. He's agreeable. He's got a great attitude. You'll already have some of those things written down.
So once they register, we will do this 10-minute triage call
Definitely.
to try
And then
engage
document the
them and feel them
information.
out and
Then
qualify.
document the
Yes.
information, right? Because you may have
Yep.
somebody who's a yes and you do not want to work with them. Right. And you want to have that already decided and be in unity with the business partner that you're working with, and that your team's in unity, and that you guys have your little secret spreadsheet behind closed doors of, we've already kind of assessed these people and where they're at. But
Thank you.
remember, conversions happen in conversations. Often people think, oh my gosh, I just did this whole event and nobody bought. Nobody bought because they don't want to say yes in front of all these other people, and they're not even 100% sure, and they don't know if you're a good fit, and they haven't asked you the right questions. So go through that process. Do not avoid it.
So two last questions.
Of course.
So the option could be a 10-minute call or a longer call with me. The 10-minute call would be with Rosa or me, probably me, or it could be the full sales strategy call after they've attended the 90 minutes.
Yes. Here's the thing. I prefer, like, again, you guys all have to figure out what works best for you, but continuity of care really helps. So if you know somebody you've triaged it in chat, they look like a good person, a good prospect, you've looked at, and you do the 10-minute call and then you do the close.
In the 10-minute call.
Like, don't do the close in the 10-minute call.
So
but you be the person, have it consistent, right?
Okay.
Because
yes, agreed.
Right, like, it's okay for Rosa to have a conversation and take a look beforehand to get some information for you, but you're building a connection with them. But if you're meeting them in that environment and they seem like they are a really, really good fit and they're a higher level client, you don't want to miss out on it.
Yep. So the
Okay.
question then is, after the masterclass, am I recommending a 10-minute call or a longer call, both with me?
I wouldn't call it a triage call, and I wouldn't call it a strategy call, but I would
No.
call it like, I call it a business breakthrough call. It's still 10 minutes.
So you recommend 10 minutes.
Yeah. Or a
do the
business
process.
audit, right? A business audit call is still do a 10 minutes, because you'll know in 10 minutes if you want to work with this person or not.
Okay.
Right? If you have that negative energy from somebody, but they're willing to pay, you will be very unhappy in 6 months from now. Right? But in 10 minutes, you'll know. Don't get on a 45-minute, and you've already given them so much in what you're teaching. Right? The week before is ideal to do the 10-minute calls.
Yep.
It's really ideal because you can have them closed, and then you can be saying right on the webinar or workshop or masterclass, you can be saying, look, we only have 10 spots. I've already had 8 people commit. We already know we only have 2 more spots today. And you're being truthful.
For the masterclass, yeah.
Yeah, like not for the masterclass, but you will have people already say yes to joining before the masterclass. If you're doing the triage calls beforehand, they're still attending. And you can say, and like, it's not fake urgency. It's real urgency. Are you guys with me? Nobody likes all that fake stuff. But you can really be real with people. We have 10 spots, and we would love to help you with the commitment's 1 year, and it's, $1 bazillion. And right, you just be really real about all that ahead of time, and so that they know. But you don't want to, not on the triage call. You triage them. If they seem like a good fit, you can have it closed and paid before the masterclass. That's what I want to see.
All right. So my last quick question is, when I'm making these prospecting calls, what for opening question sentence, what, other than the one you already gave me, what might you say?
Sorry. Say that again. I apologize.
Yeah, for when I'm doing my prospecting call
Yep.
and I'm leaving it, either I'm talking to them live or it's a message, what would you suggest I say that engages them enough without a long description?
Of what
The
it
voice
is that you're
message.
doing.
Yeah.
See, I like to ask questions. I don't, people who are the best salespeople ask questions, they don't talk.
Mhm.
Okay. So even just like if you've heard, like say you've connected with somebody, you only know them through, say, hey, Peter, I was talking to Jim through the Bible League, and he said that you were, you're really amazing at this. And I'm hosting this event and I'm going to be teaching on X, Y, and Z. Of those three things, which one is the most important to you right now? Because I want to make sure that I'm giving the very best up to date teaching that's important to someone like you.
Okay.
Does everybody see the difference? It's very relational versus, there's this, and we do this, and like we all tune out, and then it doesn't feel like you really care. I know that you do care, but it comes across as you're not caring because it's no longer relational. That sound good?
Fantastic. Love it. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
You
I'm going to go at
bet.
4:30, but I'll just thank you.
You betcha. You betcha. What's your biggest takeaway, Gary?
Relational and using the triage call in advance of the masterclass.
Yes. You're going to be so happy you followed that. Any help you need, let me know. Or if Rose is wanting to know about verbiage, she could even hop in the morning at 11 a.m. if she needs some help with the verbiage. Sound good?
Or could I put it in BTI, the verbiage?
Of course.
Okay, I will do
Yep.
that.
Absolutely.
Thank
All the
you.
best.
Many
You bet.
blessings.
Okay. We'll chat soon. All right, Debbie, I'm bringing you in. Hey, beautiful.
Hey,
Good to see you.
see you too.
Good morning, guys. You have to remember it's very, very early. Is it
Up at 4:30
6:17? You're up at
a.m.
4:30. You're amazing. You are amazing. And so next week there's a time change, everyone. So because next week it'll be a different time, right? For you guys, I think in Australia.
We've already had our time change. Are you
Oh,
having
you've
your
had
time?
you had your time change.
Yeah, we've had ours.
You've had yours. Okay. So for us, because I have something that starts right at 5 o'clock p.m., which is in the Australian time zone of 8 a.m. the next day. So we'll have to start at 2:30 next week. Everyone, is that good? 2:30 next week. Is that okay? And if you have stuff that's urgent and pressing, or if you have to go, just make sure you let people know in the chat, so that I can help. What's some of your wins, Debbie? You've been going at it like crazy and
I have
having
been going at it like
conversations.
crazy. The big thing for me is, and God told me this, that when I'm starting out, I won't have a signature system. There will be no like, this is my PDF, this is the results. He told me starting out, everyone will be different. And so in the calls that I've had, everyone's different. And so I haven't been able to provide that PDF before we jump on the call. I've provided it after and shown them the value visually. So in the calls that I've had, every single one of them was a yes, I want to work with you. Every single one of them. Then I said the price. And this is the result of saying the price. And so the first person, she's like, I know I want to work with you. The Holy Spirit has already said yes. You're exactly the solution to what I need. She's already got everything set up. She's moving from one-on-one to one-to-many. And she said, so I've got this final launch coming in, and I'm going to use the income of that to invest in you. And she's in the process of that. She's just launched. The next client said, I don't have the money, but I'm going to get a loan or a credit card. And that's where we left the conversation. I've just followed up again this morning. The next lady said, I'm getting married next month. I'm moving house. I'm going on my honeymoon. I'm an absolute yes. I've spoken to my fiance. He agrees. We're going to start Q1. So we're going to start in January.
Okay.
Understandable. Big life changes. And then the last lady said, I don't have the money, but I have these royalties coming in And when they come in, I'm going to start with you. So how do I handle all of these things? It's not like all of them are yes, but all of them don't have the money, but all of them are getting the money.
So here's what I would recommend is, and this is everybody listening to here, is on the 10-minute call, right? You have all the questions that you ask, and then you would ask the last qualifying question. So if they're checking the boxes in the 10-minute call, if they're like, yes, I like them. Yes, they're coachable. And yes, what the problems that I solve are the ones that they have, right?
Yes.
You're checking those boxes as you're going through. What is the one question you don't know for sure?
Whether they have the money to invest.
Right. So just have it part of your practice, because I'm gonna address the how to do that on the call later. But address on that call, just checking in on financial timing. Just checking in on financial timing, right? So the verbiage is gentle, just checking in on financial timing. If we both, if we both feel, or you can make it not related at all to the process, because when you relate it to if we decide that this is a good fit, it can come across a little bit salesy because you don't know enough information yet.
No, and they haven't seen enough value yet.
And they haven't seen enough value. So part of it too may be because I feel like what they were saying is, again, I'm just hearing it. I haven't been a part of your whole process, but there's more of what's going on. Normally, when people say, I don't have the money yet, they haven't actually seen enough value, because people buy for one reason and one reason only, because they want to. It's that complicated. People buy for one reason. So this is why I actually, when I talk to you guys about like having lead magnets, about like, I do prophetic songs, I have soakings, I have declarations, because people buy because they want to. And we focus so much on pumping content. Now, it's important to have content. You've got to balance it out, right? You want the artist and you want the business person. We want to see what you do to help people in the business side. And you want the artistic side of you to show up as well. But you don't want just art, because that's where the term starving artist comes from, right? You're not asking for the sale. The verbiage is, and I'll put it in the chat, is I just want to check in on financial timing. Do you have the budget to invest in getting support, and then around whatever problem they need solving? When you say it like that, you're not asking them to say yes to you. You're not making it related to you being the outcome, you being the only way that they can solve this, right? But just want to check in on financial timing. Do you have the budget to invest in getting support around, and then whatever that is that they need support on? I'm just going to pop that in chat. And part of that is, sorry, first of all, it is in the BTI guides. All right. So that you know ahead of time. And for some reason, I'm not able to. Me and multitasking. All right. I will. Hold on. Okay, I found it. All right. So I'm just going to pop that in. Know, everyone who's listening, that it is possible to, and mine's not pasting. Come on. I'm not going to get sidetracked. It is in the BTI, in the triage call, the new updated 10-minute call. It does have that as the 5th question. So that would be, make sure and put a note for yourself that says, ask the financial question. I'll tell you why, everyone who's listening, or we can ask more questions, is when you ask about, checking in on financial timing, is that you want to trigger, and I say the word trigger with the most love, you want them to be triggered. You would much rather it comes up now than after you've done an hour strategy call. Like, it sounds like you spent 5 or 6 or 7 hours with people already, Debbie.
Yeah, and I do wonder,
all of that.
because I did. We started where they were and we ended where they wanted to be, and I mapped it out how I could help them because I had the skill to help them. I
Yes.
wonder if did I get too stuck in the how and not pulling on the emotional vision that's going to cause them to, because they could see how I could help them. They could see how I could get them to where they wanted to go. And I laid it out for them, not the how, but like what the path based on when they got really excited and when they got
Yes.
when they saw that, yes, that's what they want. And I mapped that out when I sent them the PDF that does have the visual afterwards. So I wonder if I need to, when I do these extra follow-ups, reconnect back to what their emotional vision was.
Yes, like definitely people buy emotionally, they back it up logically.
Yeah.
Why you want to ask about financial timing on the 10-minute call is they will tell you at that point what you need to send them so that they'll close on the close. Don't miss out on this, right? Because if you say just checking on, they might say, well, I don't know how much it costs, so I can't really answer that. They
Mm.
might say, you know what, I have been researching and I was actually looking at 4 different coaches, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And I'm going to
Mhm.
choose one of them. And you're like, oh, so now you're like, okay, I know what's really going on here. They might say, well, actually, I absolutely have no money. I have like $3 to my name. You're not going to move that to a strategy call,
Mm.
right? You will get those answers by asking this. Plus, you will get what's really going on in someone's life. So
Mm.
they might go, well, I thought we were in the friend zone. So she might say, it was some of your people. I'm sure they did see. I'm sure they did. But when you do this portion of it about around the financial piece of it, they may say all of a sudden they go, oh, okay, well, I don't know much about you. They might all of a sudden say things like that, and you're like, wait a second, we just like had this magical, amazing conversation.
Mm.
Okay. So if you're opening, now again, some of you serve non-Christian, some of you serve like for me, it's the structure is the prayer. Then I set the frame of the call. And when I'm setting the frame, then I go right into asking the questions so I can bridge the gap, but I keep connected to them. And then I'll say, wow, like, you know, this sounds like we might be a good fit, right? And then I'll go, oh, just one more thing. Right. So you want them to know, yeah, I feel like we're a really good fit. Oh, just one more thing. Just checking in on financial timing, right? And ask that question. And then if they say, well, actually, it depends on how much it is. And if you have if you have a full with a special discount and if you have a monthly. And then you can say and no matter what they say, you don't ever disclose the amount on the call without the context of the PDF.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So at that point, you take that information. I want you to start to collect. I want you to see what people say from this, Debbie, because you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to respond. It gives you a way to prepare for your strategy call really well.
Mm.
So in
Mm-hmm.
here, right? And then you can say, well, based on our conversation, remember at the beginning of the call, I said that if I thought we were a good fit, I would suggest that we have a longer XYZ name of call. I between now and Tuesday when we've booked our next call, I'm going to send you a copy of our PDF, and in the PDF it shares about the tuition structure, and it shares about the logistics and the roadmap, whatever you have as part of your structure,
Yeah.
right? You say, I'm going to send this, and it has all this,
Mm.
or with your permission, may I send you my PDF outline that shares all this? They're going to say yes, right? And then you've
Mhm.
booked your call, booked your meeting from a meeting. You want to have some idea. Now, sometimes, even if people say they can't afford it, I've had lots of people buy who say they can't afford it.
Mm.
Your job between the 10-minute call and the close is to show them enough value, and any areas where there hasn't been enough relationship, haven't been enough, any portion that you can tell, she will tell you, he will tell you from the call. Any portion that's missing, now you know exactly what to do before the strategy call,
Yeah, right.
right? And you can make a note to self about that and ask yourself, did they see value? Like if they say, I don't really know you that well, they are not ready to close.
Mm.
If they say, oh, you sent me a whole bunch of videos, but I haven't watched them. If they say, oh my goodness, I got on a call with a guy and he was so arrogant. I couldn't wait to get off the call. But he was like, yeah, I'm like the master of sales. He's like, do you know anything about sales? I'm thinking, you know nothing about me. Like it was obviously from the second we started talking, he knew not. And I'm like, I'm not sure how I got on this call with this person. And it will happen. But the information from the 10-minute call will give you everything you need to close this call. Does that
Mm.
help?
It does help. And even as you're talking, I'm thinking it's probably worthwhile, even though every person's different in the triangle, their starting point is different, and even
Yes.
their offer structure is different. Some want one-to-one consulting because they're coming from corporate to their own business. Others want one-to-many because they're flat out one-to-one. I feel like I could still create the video of the triangle and I could still talk people through the different elements, which will give
Exactly.
them that visual before we jump on the strategy call.
To me, I feel like I feel like it does. And those people, again, I do long form content. I send a video. I send longer videos.
Yeah, I think I need this.
I don't want to work with people who want to eat potato chips and drink Dr. Pepper every day.
Mm.
I want to work with people who are like this. I'm going all in. I'm going to build this for the rest of my life. Right. Like
Mm.
Carol, like I care about you guys. I love you guys. Like Carolyn, when she's sharing about her daughter and she's talking about her husband and she shares, I know I show up 100%. I'm giving everything so that you guys can make a go of this and absolutely support your family for generations to come. So I
Mm.
don't want somebody who's like, oh, like it was like over 3 minutes. I don't know if I can watch a whole video over like, that's not my person.
Mm.
So you have to decide, right? What kind? Like I want people who care about becoming. I want people that put in the work. I want, right? So you're deciding some of that. So doing the video, well, then they're going to know all of that. And you get a chance to share the tuition wisely within that.
Mm.
Right? Because then they can go, wow, I can see all the things that you're doing that's, and you know what, some of your people, it might be all of it.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
people, they might just need like the conversion piece.
Yeah.
Some people,
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
just the
thinking.
attraction model, right? And there's still, you're like, I want everyone, not just UW, everyone to remind yourselves they're paying for your mentorship. If
Mm.
they get to meet with you weekly, either at one-on-one or as a group, and I hope most of you are doing the group, and I know some are going to do one-on-one just to be able to get to the place where you're really clear as to what you're going to do for group. But you want to be you want it to be so clear so that when you have these people in a room with you on Zoom, that the problems they have and the solutions, how you help, that there is a good crossover. Because even if somebody doesn't think they have a conversion problem, they come to you and they go, I just don't have enough leads. Well, there's probably some things in the conversion, right? Like even now, as I'm talking to you, as you have people say, well, I don't have money for this, or then I'm getting married and I'm right, like being able to go through and look at, okay, how do I close somebody who is a perfect ideal client? They've got things that are going on, like go, okay, what would that look like? So for me, if I had that person, I would say, well, I would love to work with you. I'm only working with a select number of people. I require this amount deposit right now, and then the balance would be due. And whether you're monthly or whatever, they already have watched everything. They already love you. So you have to remember all those checks first. But
Mm.
you're having the strategy call with somebody who you've spent the time really nourishing. And if you're not spending the time between the triage or the 10-minute call and the strategy call, this is where you're sending more stuff. You're sending them
Yeah.
voice messages. You're loving on them. But all of you go back to our chats because you will
Mm.
see all the things that I did that just seemed fairly innocuous, but they made all the difference. I call it nuanceonomics. those nuanceonomics make all the difference in our day, right? Like, and we will choose people just because we like that they have vision or mission, or they're passionate and they get back to us, or they hold our heart and they care for us well. Like, those are the reasons we buy, not just
Mm.
because they have the solutions. So I would say I'm really super excited about this, about your marriage, about all the things. How about we have one-to-one call, right? And this is what we need as a deposit today, and then this is whatever the balance. And you and I can meet next week, but then I understand that you've got some stuff that you've got going on, and then I'll see you on January 8th when we have our official kickoff. How does
Yeah,
that
right.
sound?
Mm-hmm.
That is going to bring up whatever's really going on,
Mm.
which normally
Yeah.
when people say they don't have the cash, they really either don't have the cash, which it's up to us to ask the question up here in the 10-minute call.
Yeah.
Okay. That's up to us to do it. Now, I have not asked because some people I just know are my people and I've just made it work out. There's also people who I don't ask because they're like, well, I'm an accountant, my husband's a lawyer, we live in this XYZ neighborhood, we both drive nice cars, and our kids go to Christian school. I don't tend to ask that
Mm.
question, right? They're going to figure it out. It's all figure outable. They're going to figure it out if they really want this. Another thing is when they're saying, Debbie, oh, okay, no, um, I can't afford it, or I don't have the money right now, or I'll get the money to you next week. I want to encourage you, Debbie, to drill deeper because there's other issues that are really going on, and getting to those, like, what are the core things that are actually going on here? And so sometimes you can ask, like, and you can just go back to what they've said to you. This is the beautiful thing is you can say, oh, okay, well, when we've been chatting, you have said here, over here, you don't have enough cash. You're working long days. Like, I'm just making this all up. You don't
Yeah.
get to put your kids to bed at night. Okay. Is that still true for you?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to say, yes. And in this time, you would like to be here and you'd like to have this and all these things. Is that still true? Yes. Then you can go back into, if you're doing the 3-question loop, are you comfortable with everything so far? Is it making sense so far? Where would you like to go from here? You can just keep
Mm.
doing that till it closes. Because if you ask her, is this still true? She's going to say yes. You say, are you comfortable? Where would you like to go from here? She will likely, because you've now reminded her of all this,
Yeah.
she'll either say, well, I just started to watch some of your stuff and I don't know. She'll tell you what's really going on.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you have uncovered all of that, right? Again, you're going to have your 10-minute call and you want to uncover everything either there or in this time here. This is the sweet spot here where they watch the video, you check in, did you watch it? Do you have any questions? You share the agenda for tomorrow. You want to poke and send and nurture and love on. This is where the close happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The close doesn't happen on the strategy call,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't get on calls where you don't know for sure that it's going to close. And what do I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is if you're saying the agenda for tomorrow is, and you send everything and it says, you want may you please be at a yes or a no by the end of the call. And they say, sounds good. Sometimes this is what I'll say. I'll send a little voice message that says, um, normally people say I'm in. Okay. So just saying, normally people say I'm in. I'm curious because they also ask me a number of questions. Is there anything that I can help you with? Or like go deeper, right? Go to the granular level with them. Because truthfully, if you can't do that in the sales call, you likely won't be able to have, they likely won't be able to have breakthroughs when they're in your program.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You want to see that there's a response. You want to see that they're being real about things. You want to see that they're bringing up what's really going on in their heart, right?
Mm.
You'd much rather hear between the 10-minute call and the strategy call, things like, and again, you want to be asking this ahead of time about their spouse. You want to be asking again if they, if there's anyone else who is, part of making the business decisions, so that when you're on the strategy call, they don't say, I need to talk to my husband.
Mhm.
That should already be brought up way in advance, right?
Yeah.
Either before the 10-minute call and chat or in between. Again, you can do a 10-minute call with somebody and then have a close with the couple.
Yeah.
Where that can get off track is if the spouse is like nowhere near on the same page as that person.
Yeah. They're different values.
And different values, or they're not Christian, or they don't even see their wife. Right? Last thing you want is having somebody on the call. Like, I actually had a guy on the call with a beautiful woman, and the whole time he was like putting her down.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, I don't think this is the right timing. Or I'll even say, I don't feel like I'm really the right person. I'm going to send you guys some materials, and, I'm just get off the call as fast as possible. Right? But you want to avoid that by asking questions. And give yourself grace, guys, because there's so many things that's this nuance that you may or may not even like, and eventually you'll have so many different ways of thinking of things. But as much as it's up to you, just ask questions in between, because when somebody says, they're going to work it out, they either really love you, Debbie, but they don't know how to say, like, I'm not really clear what we're doing here, or I'm not really sure what it is that I'm saying yes to. Even if they have a great feeling from you. This is why I created the video or the PDF whole process.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Because even if all parts, again, don't resonate, at least they have some context and the content.
Yeah.
And you're not at the risk of saying it's X dollars, because it's like they feel like they're paying for a box of whiteness. They're like, what's in the can? Like, I don't know what I'm saying yes to.
Yeah.
So as much as is possible, right? So the things you can control, you can't control a weird spouse showing up on a call. You can't control them not showing up on a call, right? Like all the variables of things you can control is you doing all the chats in between, you messaging, you creating little love things. And all of you have beautiful voices. Like, I highly recommend that you just have little things. And if you guys want some suggestions, I can send you some, or I can post some more things in BTI. But right, like maybe you have some declarations, maybe you have a morning routine, maybe you have something, Carolyn, about like, like writing when you have children at home. And it's just like, or you might have something that's about like how I do the I am statements. Like, I am an international author, and I've written 7 books, and I've writes for just like, can I encourage you? I've created this thing. When I send it to you, these just add. Your person is just like, you know what? They love my calling. They care about me. They're listening. So even if they don't understand your triangle, they don't understand, like, because sometimes the how people, like, it's too much, and you don't want them to get into overwhelm and say they're going to think about it.
Yeah, that might be the issue too. There was a lot, because I could help them with a lot. So we mapped it all out, and then I helped them see the things that we create. So maybe that was the issue too.
And only talk about the things that they bring up, Debbie.
Yeah.
Don't bring up anything. If your person is like, when you say, where would you like to go from here? And they're like, well, everything sounds great. Don't come, well, we do this and we do this and we have this and we meet on Wednesdays, and you get 10 things and you get all this other stuff and junk and things. And all of a sudden they're like, they just went from a yes to a no.
Yeah.
Right? Like, all of us have done this. So I'm making fun of myself, right? Like, this happens easily. But if you say, where should we go from here? Don't say anything. Say nothing. I've actually sat here and my team has watched me. Like, I say nothing until they talk. Same with when you share. If they say, well, I've watched your video. See, this is part of it. If they've watched your video And you've already shared in the video about the A option and the B option, right? They are going to refer to your video and you don't have to do any of that on the strategy call. They're going to say, well, I watched your video. Everything sounds great. Or they're going to bring up, well, what about, when logistics? Or they might bring up, you want to handle price last.
Yeah.
Because you want to go right into collecting the cash on the call.
Mm.
So collect everything they say, like your promise. They might say about the bonus. They might have a question about the timing. They might have a question about onboarding. Just collect everything that they say and then say, what else? What else? What else? Just collect them all. Sometimes people just want to share it. They've already made a decision. They know they want to work with you. So just let them share all those things.
Yeah.
Okay. This is, again, knowing that you've gone through all this. And then you'll be at this place here where you'll choose one of them. You'll be able to tell kind of what was the most pressing, right? You don't want to go right into price if she's listed a whole bunch of things. If she says everything's fine, I just want to know, like, how does it work with the tuition? Then you can go right into the tuition. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
But if she brings up, like, well, when do we get started? Or how do I onboard? Or like choose one, but choose one of them that are lighter. So maybe she said about, logistics. You could go into, this is how it works. And then go right into is, everything making sense so far? Are you comfortable with everything so far? Where would you like to go from here? Now, this time, listen again, because you've only solved one. She may say, that sounds great. I'm just wondering about, like, can you do monthly? When somebody says, can you do monthly? What are they saying? Yes. They're saying yes. And you say, it depends. Like, I don't know what your tuition is, right? You can say, well, we have this plan and we have this plan. This plan, you get everything. This plan, you get like a couple of things. Which one works best for you? Right? You're not saying, do you want to do this? Which one works best for you? They'll say, oh, yeah, I want to do this one. That one sounds awesome. You say, perfect. What's your mailing address? Right? You go right into that. What's your mailing address? Awesome. Amazing. Your email. What's your birth date without the year? Because we want to be able to celebrate you in the group. Right? They say, perfect. Will this be Visa or MasterCard or whatever you do? Or can I send you a PayPal link right now? Whatever it is that you do. And you just stay on until it's closed. Whatever the terms are. Like maybe there's just a deposit, whatever it is. But you stay on until that's closed. Don't get off the call. Okay. So somebody says, I'm getting married, I'm having braces on tomorrow, my brother just got diagnosed with cancer. It doesn't really matter because there's always going to be stuff going on. And often I'll say, you know what? There's never a good time to get started growing your business. There's never a good time to write your book. Right? We thought it's when our baby was born. We thought it when we were pregnant and nauseous. We thought it was when we finally got the child out of diapers, but then we had a family member get sick. Like there's just never a good time. Wouldn't you agree? And they'll say, yeah, there's never a good time. Good. And then you'll get past that hurdle. I think you're allowing them you get caught up in their story in a good way because you're so connected to people, Debbie, and others who are listening. You care so deeply for them. So you're getting caught up. Then they give you an answer and you're buying it. Instead of, remember this, the current plan your client or prospect has to solve their problem is to do nothing. That's their current plan. So you're taking them off course of their plan. They're like, you're the first person who has stopped me dead in my tracks. You have taken all of my excuses from me. Okay, so just collect all their excuses. And I call it gentle gloves, right? Just have gentle gloves. Just collect all their little things. I can't do this or why I can't. again, you want it all to come out before the strategy call. Because if you have it all come out in here, then when you're on the call with them, you're just really talking about vision. You're going through and talking about the gap. You're going through the roadblocks. Then you're going right to having them close and having them onboarded. You're not even having to go through all these things in between. Does that help?
Yeah, it does.
Amazing. And I know I went way over time, but I won't get off the call till I feel like you guys feel like you're ready for your next things. What are your next steps and takeaways, Debbie, for
So
you?
I'm going to create this video that has the triangle and talk through that. People might be needing it all or just even parts of it, just so I can get them a visual. And then I'm also going to create a PDF of prayers for business, for increase, for calling, even some mindset, and add that as a value add as well between that 10 minutes and the strategy call. I can see definitely where I have not captured the right thing. So I know applying this is going to make a difference.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank
you
so much.
have such a beautiful way of conversing with people. And God shows you things. So remember that if you have something that you share, if you're like, you always have dreams, like you'll probably have dreams of people that you're just messaging. So share with them. Say, I had this beautiful dream of you and of seeing you doing this. Does it mean anything? My goodness, you have to remember sometimes they feel disconnected from their children, their spouse, their families, and you being that intimate with them, they're not going to go somewhere else to get help for whatever business solution you have.
Yeah.
Right? Like Carolyn, anyone else listening, Carolyn, they're not going to go somewhere else. If you're saying, hey, I love how when we were chatting about this and I was thinking and I pictured you and I saw your book cover and I was kind of praying through it, like they're not going to shop around. Right? This is why I say we're genetically accurate for our assignments. Genetically accurate. There is no competition. So lean into that very thing that makes you so different compared to compared to anybody else. And you will find that people will lean into that. That will make all the difference. And again, it will help with that client retention.
Yeah.
Because they're like, nobody knows me like my coach. Nobody, nobody understands. They're not going to go somewhere else. So I'm glad that was helpful. Everyone post in BTI the things that really helped and impacted you. Debbie, do you want to close us out in prayer? I think Nicole, I know she's still working with her little guy. Yeah.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we just thank you. We thank you for Coach Heaven, that she can draw the best out of us and give us knowledge in the gaps that we have. We just thank you for this space that we can come and encourage us in our mindset to keep going with that diligence and that discipline to be able to live out and walk out the vision that you have for us. I just pray over every woman here that you would continue to guide her into the calling that she has, and for our coach that we just thank you for her. We thank you for her wisdom and her skill and her knowledge, and also so much for her grace and her love and her care for us. In Jesus' name.
Man, that was so beautiful. I got choked up. Thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Gary. Everyone who shared today. I love you guys
so much.
And if you need anything, hop in tomorrow.